right with you. So I need your help with the customers. If I don't get this order finished, I'm never going to make delivery on time.
Bob, I'm so busy trying to help out with everything else around here that I'm having trouble keeping up with what you hired me to do.
You're busy. What about me? If I don't keep up on the repair and the orders and keep the customers happy, we'll be out of business.
I know. But I can't keep working like this. I need some help. We both do.
Okay, maybe you're right. But where am I going to find the time to hire new people? I just can't take on another responsibility right now. I'm swamped. You'll have to take care of it yourself.
But I've never hired anyone before.
There's nothing to it. Look how easy it was for me to hire you. I'm sure you'll do a great job.
That's his hiring system right there.
Looks like the folks at Just in Time barely have enough time to keep up with all of this business. More customers and sales have led to much more work than Bob and Sue can handle alone. This is a great problem to have, right? It means that Bob's business is becoming a success. Or does it? The problem is that Bob doesn't have a plan to deal with his growth. His business may have evolved, but Bob hasn't. He's still operating as a specialist, out to deal with the problem that's in front of him. He can't keep up with production himself, so his solution is to hire a couple of warm bodies to pick up the slack. He wants to hand over some of the hats so he can finally get his business under control. But first he has to train his new employees. Let's see how Bob does in the growth phase of the business development cycle.
All right, Jill, shipping is very simple. First, look at the list of orders, see who wants what, when. All you need to do is make out a packing list, then make the boxes, pack the clocks, take them up, label them, and weigh them. And each of our clients has a particular way they like their clock shipped, so you have to learn that. And all the shipping companies have different paperwork, so you need to figure that out too. All these orders need to be done by 3. Got all that? Okay, well, I'll check with you soon, and if you need me, come find me and ask me a question. Okay, Bob.
Jill, phones are going crazy and I really need your help. You can do this later.
Sure, whatever you need.
Joe, it's going to have to wait. I just got a huge rush order. I need your help in assembly. Now, what do you know about clocks?
Not much. I can't tell time.
Great. Well, I'm going to show you how to make a clock. We're in a big hurry, so for now, just do what I do. Jill.
Soup or somewhere.
Here you are. How did you get here?
Well, box.
So, never mind. This is more important. Come with me.
Well, now where's everybody? Jill?
Bob seems to have a plug and socket vision of how his employees should function in his business. He wants to plug Joe and Jill into the areas of his business needing extra juice. And there are drawbacks to this approach. Joe and Jill are competent enough, but Bob doesn't have a system in place to develop them into effective just-in-time employees. They're being plugged and yanked out and re-plugged so often, they don't have a chance to learn how to do any of their jobs well. And Bob doesn't have the time to supervise them. The result? People problems, unhappy customers, and a lot of fires to put out.
What's this? Oh, no, not again. I take one day off. Jill, these were shipped without hands. These were damaged on the way to the store. What's going on?
I'm sorry about that, Bob, but we're already behind on this shipment. It's got to go out by the end of the day.
At this rate, we're not going to have any orders to worry about.
We're doing the best we can to keep up, Bob.
It's not good enough. Look, that can wait. You gotta help me replace these clocks or we'll lose our best clients. Come on, help me get this fire out. Sue, have you seen this?
Hello, Bob. How was your day off? Yes, I heard something about it.
Something's got to change. How hard is it to put a clock together? It's not brain surgery.
They're working very hard, Bob. A mistake is bound to happen once in a while.
Come on, Sue. This is my reputation on the line here. Everything I've worked so hard to build. Now maybe we need to think about hiring better people who can do the job right. Maybe we need more people. Business has been so good, they're barely able to keep up.
We can't hire anyone else right now. Bob, there's something you should see.
What? Okay, it's our check register. What about it?
This here, our account balance.
No, that can't be right. You checked your math and carry everything and move decimals?
It's right, believe me. I've gone over it a dozen times. We have a serious cash flow problem.
But business is better than ever. We've got lots of customers now.
And a bigger overhead because of the extra space and the inventory and the payroll.
How else am I supposed to satisfy the demand?
Well, we have to find a way because you know what happens after the holidays.
Yeah, I know. Things slow down. What do I do then? Lay off Joe and Jill, get rid of the extra space? What do I tell our new clients? Sorry, we can't afford any new business right now. That's ridiculous.
I know it sounds that way, but we have to find a way to work with what we've got.
Well, I can't let any more shoddy clocks go out, that's for sure. Great. I guess I'll have to look over their shoulders and inspect everything they do. Or maybe I should do it all myself, just like in the good old days. At least then many things will get done.
Seems like a pretty stressful way to do things, doesn't it? Business owners worry about cash flow problems and people problems, but these are just symptoms of much deeper troubles. Many, like Bob, are so caught up in the daily struggle for survival and an endless cycle of firefighting, they don't take the time to examine why their problems exist in the first place. Instead of finding out what's causing their problems, many business owners instinctively shrink their business back into what is called their zone of personal control. Let's take a closer look.
Here's Bob in the center of his business. Bob is trying to personally control the elements of his business while hanging on to his sanity, which results in the business expanding or contracting, depending on how much Bob can get his arms around at any one time. If you're stuck in the zone of control, it's probably because you've created a situation where the business is completely dependent on you and your presence to function. Instead of experiencing the joys of ownership, you're preoccupied with every detail of your business, big and small, the things you can control and the things you can't. Look at Bob. He's pretty much given up on the idea of having his business and a fulfilling personal life. Just-in-time is so owner-dependent that it's difficult for him to leave, even for a day. When he does, he worries constantly about his baby because he can't trust anyone else to look after it. Many business owners eventually buckle under this kind of pressure. They go out of business. Those who can't afford to give up make peace with the chaos. They accept that firefighting in the zone of personal control is the best they can do, that the incredible toll their work is taking on them is the price everyone has to pay for owning a business. And they get used to it. Of course, some business owners get to the point where they actually manage to get the chaos under control. They may even take a day off once in a while without fear that their business will collapse without them. Have they found success at last? Maybe. Or they may have moved into the final phase of the business development cycle, plateau. To Bob, the relative calm of the plateau phase seems like success, especially since things in the clock market have stayed the same for a while. Bob and his company have reached a place where they can coast a bit. Oh, he still goes into work, but enough time has passed without a major crisis for Bob to feel confident in taking a day off once in a while. Thanks to Jim. Jim is Bob's newest employee. He's a talented, hard-working clock man, just like Bob. And he has a real flair for selling clocks and managing some of the other functions in the business. With Jim there to help Bob has been able to concentrate on the jobs he likes to do. It looks like he's finally reaping the rewards of his hard work.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for your help.
Come again. Haven't had a bite in a while.
Oh, it's just a little slow. It always does. What do you think of that?
It's a beauty, Bob. Oh, looks like we've got another customer. Welcome to Just in Time. How can I help you?
Well, I'm not sure.
Is there something specific you're looking for?
Yes, I'm looking for a digital clock.
I'm sorry, we don't sell digital clocks here. Look at this lovely clock over here. Now that's craftsmanship. You won't see that on a digital clock.
It's very nice. But I was just at the clock depot down the street, and I really just came in to compare prices. Oh well.
I'm sorry we don't have what you're looking for. Thanks for coming in.
Clock Depot. What do they know about clocks?
I don't know, Bob. They seem pretty popular. They have a huge selection.
Well, they don't have anything like this. Digital clocks. Who wants to look at one of those ugly boxes?
Life on the plateau has been good for Bob and his business, but every plateau eventually ends in a cliff. When a business is in this phase, It's easy for owners to be caught off guard by situations they couldn't predict, like a competitor moving into the neighborhood.
Jim may have a point, Bob. You know, sales have been pretty slow for this time of year. I think the Clock Depot is taking over some of our business.
Come on. Just a big warehouse full of boxes and college kids. I'm not afraid of that.
Maybe you should be.
But I don't know anything about digital clocks.
Maybe Jim does.
Jim, I've been thinking a lot about this Clock Depot situation.
So have I, Bob. Look, there's no easy way to say this. They made me an offer.
Hey, what?
If you want to raise Jim,
I've been thinking it over for quite a while. I've decided to accept their offer. They're making me the head of my own department. It's a great opportunity. I really like it here, but now, Jim, I'm sorry, Bob, really, I am. But I have to think about my future. I've seen their business plan, and there'll be plenty of opportunities for promotion. They seem like a great company to work for. Well, goodbye.
That cliff seems to be getting closer. Like many small business owners, Bob had grown dependent on a secure position in the marketplace and the talent of a key employee. With both of them gone, how can he recover?
What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? Jim's gone and Clock Depot's breathing down my neck. I sacrificed everything for this business. Is this what I get for all my hard work? I can't afford to start all over again. I've done what anyone would do. I did everything that made sense. What went wrong? I guess running a business is just too difficult for someone like me.
You may know of many small businesses that have ended like this. Unable to survive when a big competitor moves in. To Bob, it may seem like bad luck interfered with his success. But as you've seen, Bob's problems with his business were brewing way back in the startup phase. Now, you're probably not a clockmaker. You may not own a clock business. Maybe you feel reassured that you've been able to avoid making some of Bob's mistakes. Or maybe you've had different problems altogether. Perhaps you struggled to get enough customers in the door, or faced tough competition at a much earlier stage. But you may have more in common with Bob than you think. Are you satisfied with the way your business runs when you're not around? Or is your company dependent on your presence to keep things going? Are you moving toward having more personal time and financial independence? Perhaps the most important question you should ask yourself is how confident are you that your business will continue to thrive for the next 5 or 10 years? Well, maybe you managed to build one of those rare businesses that achieves predictable results, with or without you being physically present. Unfortunately, the odds make it more likely that you've been struggling with at least some of the same situations Bob faced. Wearing too many hats, lack of control, employees who aren't as dedicated to your business as you are, cash flow problems, and frustration with your lack of personal time. These are all consequences of being a specialist. Now, before you object to being singled out, remember, just about everyone who starts a business begins as a specialist. Your specialty could be manufacturing a quality product, or being a great salesperson, or an experienced manager. The only thing that would put you in a different category is if your specialty was developing successful, self-running small businesses. Being a specialist is great when you're working for someone else, but as a business owner, it presents some major problems. Getting an accurate picture of what's going on in your business using the specialist point of view is like trying to see the whole world through a magnifying glass. Can't be done. And because your perspective of your company is limited, you end up dealing only with the details that are in plain sight, without seeing what's lurking in the shadows. The results are hidden problems that erupt into crises at the worst possible moment.
All right, I get the picture. I'm a specialist, and a lot of my problems may have come from my point of view. am I supposed to do about that now? I can't go back and start all over again. So, where do I go from here?
That's a question that stops a lot of small business owners in their tracks. Recognizing the need for change doesn't automatically lead to an overhaul in the way they do things. People hesitate because they're uncertain about what to change in their business or how to go about doing it. Or they think their problems are so unique to their particular business that a given solution can't apply to them. Or they're so busy putting out fires, they think they don't have time to change. Instead, they get by with making minor adjustments along the way to solve the most pressing problems. But the deeper, underlying causes aren't dealt with until there's no other choice. So what's the answer? Well, you can't erase the decisions of the past or your background as a specialist, but there is a simple thing you can do that will help you change the way you run your business. It may seem obvious, but the only way to solve the problems that come from having a specialist perspective is to change your point of view.
You need to take a big step back and look at your business from a broader, more encompassing perspective, what we call the designer perspective. It's a mental adjustment you can make right now that will take you out of the middle of your business so that you can begin to work on it instead of in it. Now, if the connection between your success as a business owner and your role as the designer is new, that's not surprising. Few business owners understand the importance of design work, and it's certainly not what screams out to you for your attention when things go wrong. But it has more impact over the success or failure of your business than any other work you do.
All right, so I think some kids have live glitter for us. All right, so let's hear some of the translations. What'd you think up from that? I'd like to capture some of those, and we'll stop on.
It's hard work to begin and then initially pay off. You know, it wasn't anything that you began by working hard. It's just that what it was that made him successful wasn't enough to keep him successful.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think where one of the transferable principles is that, Bob had a passion about building clocks, right? And we all have a passion about ministry, church, whatever. Most of us get in the ministry to do ministry and don't really think about the fact we actually have to build a ministry. Very different, those are two different, kind of sides of the brain. But yeah, a lot of times what gets us going, it won't keep us there.
I think the part I could relate most to is trying to figure out how we're going to train people in this chaos. Yeah, I mean, it's like if I step away from what I'm doing to train, it feels like things will fall apart. Right.
Yeah. And the simple answer to that,
it will.
Really, the simple answer to that is that we have to change our mind about how we think about it, because if we don't see it as critical, it won't become part of our routine. It's more critical for me to do than it is to stop and train, and that doesn't begin to take a regular place of rhythm. Franklin Covey talks about, and we'll see a video a little later, a short video from Franklin Covey. Franklin Covey talks about creating a cadence of strategy and planning and training. So it has to be, because we haven't seen this as part of our job really. We just see it as an absolute have to once in a while go off to a conference or whatever. It's not really something that we include in the process, in our day-to-day process and rhythm. Okay. And so you have to say, okay, if that's true, and then you got to say, okay, well, there's some things I'm doing that I have to do less of because this is too important to do none of.
Well, and I think the thing I've been processing this exact thing for some time now, and I think the thing I've just kind of arrived at is I at least have to do some of it.
Yeah.
The tendency for me is to get overwhelmed by all of it and then do none of it. As opposed to just saying, okay, well, I can start with this one area and I just have to get moving.
Is that right or is it a Y? Catalytic? Might be a Y. Somebody can work on spelling. Is that wrong?
Yeah.
What is it? You're good.
CAT.
CAT? CAT. Catalytic. CAT. A. One L. Thank you. So Jim Collins talks about having catalytic systems. You read any Jim Collins stuff. And catalytic system is it's an awesome concept. Fits right into this. You use it all the time. And that is that the catalytic system will cause me to do things that I wouldn't naturally do. Right? So some of us, if we just say, look, there's a calendar. Let's say those are months, and we have 12 months, and that's fine as well. So let's just say if I'm not wired to do strategy, planning, and training, and that kind of thing, right? It's just not something I naturally gravitate to. And in the fray of ministry, I'm going to gravitate toward people and stuff and activity rather than stopping, planning, training, or whatever. So one thing I have to do is I have to say, you know what? Because it's not natural for me to do it, I need a catalytic calendar. So this is January, February, March, so every March, we're going to do some strategic planning, or, for somebody it might be December or whatever, but somewhere, we're going to decide where we do it. It's going to be X marks Y. And the deal is that no matter what happens, we're not going to blow that up. And we're going to see this later this afternoon, is because while what we call the whirlwind, Franklin Covey calls it the whirlwind of activity. So the whirlwind of activity is real, and that's the day-to-day grind. That's the result of growing the ministry or having the church we have now. So you can't say, well, I hate the whirlwind and you should ignore it. I'm not saying that. It's critical. You have to pay attention to it. I know guys that lose their jobs because they couldn't take care of the day-to-day, they couldn't manage the day-to-day stuff, and they didn't have the skill set, they didn't learn. So the day-to-day got away from them, they got them in trouble, nobody wanted to work for them, and eventually get forced out and leave. And then I also know people that don't do this part. This is where we set goals, we do training, and so forth. And this stuff here doesn't maintain the day-to-day. This advances the church. Right? This is the stuff that causes us to really advance the church and do it, do it in a positive way. And so if it's not my nature to do it, I got to put it in. So, for example, I'm going to give you an example of what I did on the first catalytic system that I used. I realized again, I was weak on thanking people, right? Because I moved too fast, and I'm going to the next thing, I'm like trapeze artist, so this is over, that's over, so I wouldn't stop thanking people. Now, in my heart, I was very grateful. In my heart, I wanted to thank people in the church. Sometimes I would, and sometimes I wouldn't. But I wanted to be consistent and thank people on a consistent basis. I wanted to affirm them for their ministries. It was something that I wanted it to become part of my life and part of my leadership life. Well, I wasn't any good at it, so let's just change this from a monthly to like a weekly calendar. So let's say this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of thing. I started putting on one day of the week, like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I put it into my calendar that I was going to thank people every week at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now what that meant was, I want a stack of thank you cards on my desk. I want my assistant, or I didn't have an assistant back then probably, but I wanted my assistant or whoever, or if I had to do it myself, to maybe identify some people who have done some great things lately, led out of ministry, did a great job on vacation Bible school, some event, started doing ministry, just been faithful forever. They don't have to do something new. It could be just something just be thanked just for hanging in it. And I'm going to write a set of thank you cards every week to a few people in the church and thank them for their ministry. Just quietly, it's not public, it's going to go through the mail. And it's just, I've been just thinking about you this week. Thank God for you, pray for you. And because I want to do that, and that's a fantastic leadership discipline, and it's very powerful in people's lives. But no matter how bad I wanted to do it, I wasn't doing it. So I actually, for years, had 2 o'clock, or actually I think I had it on Tuesday, was thank people. And so I had thank you cards, and then, sometimes it's emails. And then as I got an assistant, executive assistant and all that, I started teaching her that I want to do this. And so I said, by the way, you're another set of eyes and ears when you know there's people in the church that need to be thanked. So this is common to this day. I'll go in, there'll be a thank you card on my desk, and they'll have somebody's name on it, show a post note on it, and say, you know, Jill just led a fantastic Bible study, you know, over the winter or the summer, or you know, somebody's, you know, somebody did a great job at camp, or somebody's just been so faithful in this area for so long, I thought you might want to send a thank you card. So I trained her how to be another brain for me. And so she's always looking out there as well, right? So I have this rhythm. I thank people, I send cards, I thank cards all the time. But I wouldn't do it if it wasn't on my calendar because I move too fast. It doesn't matter if I'm in good intention. And some of you, it's more the leadership, strategic side, goal setting, training, those kind of things. You've got to put it in your calendar and make a catalytic system where you won't do it. And then when it's time to do it, you can't blow it up, right? You got to say to people, you got to let other people know. You can't be the only person to know. It's on the calendar. We're going to do it. I'm not going to blow it up. I don't care what's going on. I don't care if Jesus sent us a note and said he's visiting on that day. He's going to have to go to the training class with us or whatever we're going to do. Go to the retreat, get away, go have coffee, talk about church, whatever we're going to do. He's going with us. But we're not going to blow this up. Because that's the number one problem with having a catalytic system is that when you get to it, because it's not your nature, you'll go, oh, no, well, let's do it next time, or push it off. Okay, so anyway, that when you have to integrate it into your life, I think using catalytic systems is the only way to do it. Let's talk other things that you caught from the video.
Innovation. He wasn't willing to go to digital.
I don't know anything about digital clocks. Yeah. And that's tough. I mean, that's easy to understand. And, well, I don't know anything about that. I didn't grow up doing it. I haven't done that. But again, as a leader with a church and a community, my job, you know, I think it was Barna that said good leadership is a series of sensitive, discerning decisions in a changing environment. And so I may not understand, but I still have to provide lead. So that means I have to get with other people, find other people, bring people in, include other people in conversation, let another kind of a ministry start. It's good.
Going with that change piece, I believe also a lack of foresight because obviously this was going on for a while because the gentleman that he employed as a salesperson had said he'd been thinking about going to the competitor for a while.
Yeah.
So obviously there had been some dissension of some key words that the employee was dropping that the clock did not understand.
Wasn't listening, because we don't like to hear that. That's really insightful and really learning to listen to those things. A couple of things on that guy. Number one, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have strategy, you'll lose your best people. Did you hear what he said? The guy said, "I've seen their business plan.
Yes.
I know where they're going."
Yeah.
Now he said money. Now where this is business and church disconnects is that most people in church work aren't doing it for the money, right? So that's where there's a difference. So most people in church work, if you survey them time and time again, are doing what they're doing for a sense of significance. And so it's not about money. And you can pay people in church without using dollars. And one of the ways you pay them is to lead well, so that I always feel that what we're doing is the most strategic, important work on the planet. And it can't just be words. We have to actually be going somewhere. I have to know I'm using my one and only life. I'm willing to follow you, Pastor. I'm willing to invest here as long as I feel like we're really making a difference. But if I think we're marking time, your best people will. It's not their. They hate God. They're just troublemakers, and we really demonize people when they leave us sometimes. And the truth is, some people leave us because we didn't have any clear direction. And they deep down inside, they just were saying, look, and it's not just an excitement factor. It's that I got one life. And if I was a layman, that's exactly how I'd be. I'd say, Pastor, I'm with you, but I'm not going to stay in church where we're not making any difference or not even trying.
I think one of the key factors where he went wrong was he didn't train it well. He didn't disciple well.
All that fast plug and play stuff.
He was just right there, telling them 2 or 3 things, do this, and it wasn't in depth. Sometimes in the church we don't disciple well enough. And then he gave authority to them, and they were properly trained. So they started getting in the wrong place. People started pulling them to come do this, come do that. Sometimes we put people in the wrong place that haven't been properly trained or discipled.
And even there's a really good point you make in there as well, is that we give people authority where we haven't trained them well. And then again, so sometimes if we're not training people well, then we say, well, I can't give them authority or power because we haven't trained them well. So then we don't do anything, right? Because, well, we're not, well, then get to training them, so that you can empower them. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Ability and authority can really make you arrogant and not open to innovation, and then you can't influence effectively, and then you have an inconsistent example. You have a very you're very narrow in your focus. It's just you. You are the specialist. But ability and authority, positional authority, can make you very arrogant and not open to anything.
Yeah, he had a tough time with that. He was an expert. He had a passion. And this is why my partners and I, you can see with this video, I mean, we just shared so much in common from day one about our viewpoint on this. I'd already been living this. And, but one of the things that, that the guys in Business Advantage used to say is, the guy who fixes cars for himself, he's fixing cars for working for somebody else. And one day he goes, I'm busting my knuckles fixing cars. I'm really good at this. My boss's customers all like me, love me, they want me to work. I could do this for myself. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I could go out, I could rent a building, I could start a garage and fix my own car. That's what's called, if you've ever read the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, Entrepreneurial Myth. And the E-Myth is, and I have that same bug, and the E-Myth is that we're focused on what we're entrepreneurially excited about. So that mechanic wants to go out and start his own shop, right? The lady who's fantastic at making flowers wants to go out and rent a place and start her own florist company, right? So, but there's what entrepreneurs miss is the day that they hang out that shingle, the day they open the doors, the day pastors take the lead in a church, it's no longer about you. It's not just about me and my performance. I'm not just here to perform and to fix the car or make the flowers or preach. I'm here to build a business or build a church in our case. And that's a very different fundamental. Doesn't mean that I'm still not going to do what I love. In fact, this is what I started earlier today. Some people preach for the privilege of leading, and that's me. Most pastors I know lead for the privilege of preaching. So our passion is still in there, but we have to recognize that we have to do both sides of the equation. Right? So really good stuff. We can get some more. One more before we break for lunch. Just burning to get out. Bob.
Don't take a day off. You see what happened every time you try to take a day off.
You would say that.
Work yourself to death.
Well, there's a lot there. Bob is on our website. I'll show you later. Remind me, and I'll show you later when we are on the website where that is, so you can go back and watch it. You can show it to your staff inside the church if you want. My friend of mine that's built our personality assessment, Rodney Cox. Rodney has his company is Leading from Your Strengths, and we're very integrated. And every time Rodney's here, if he watches that video, every time he goes, Russ, you got to help me. He said every time I watch that video, it just kills me. I keep thinking I got it. Every time I watch it, I'm doing so terrible. So it's a bit like peeling an onion, guys. I don't think this is a one and done. I do think there's an initial kind of eye-opening part of it to say, okay, I get it. There's a part of this leadership thing maybe I can do better. But then over time, you get better and better at it. And every time I watch Bob, it's fun. All right, well, we're going to break for lunch.